Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95, and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down, and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.
All right, T-minus, I don't know, about 6 hours and counting here as Sweet 16 basketball almost upon us. Welcome in here. It is the College Basketball Tip-Off Show powered by WagerTalk.com. We got a couple of games tonight and, of course, a couple of games tomorrow. We're going to break down a few of those games coming up here tomorrow. We're going to do it, of course, with three of the best all season long in college hoops, as Ralph Michaels joining us up at the top, Steve Merrill right in the middle, and Dave Koken in the house here, guys, as the fun is almost set to begin. So, Ralph, here it comes. We only got about 6 hours, a little less than 6 hours to go here before tip-off. 4 games tonight, 4 games tomorrow. I know you're locked and loaded at WagerTalk.com. What's going on there?
Yeah, 12-2 run and 20-6 run the last 26 plays. Number 1 last year March college basketball at Wager Talk. Number 1 this year college basketball the last 30 days. And, of course, number 1 in March over the last 2 years. 1 best bet loaded for tonight. And, again, a lot of value in these off tournaments. Keep your eyes open for the days.
All right, great stuff there. And Steve dominating in the NBA as usual there. So talk to us here tonight as we get ready for Sweet 16. What do you got ready for us over at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, huge card. I had a nice best bet in the NBA last night, but now we're focusing on college hoops. I've got 3 best bets tonight. I'm going to get to one of the other games here. Most likely is a free play. Did it on the big game breakdown earlier on Wager Talk today. So if you want a free play in that Houston-Arizona game, be sure to check out Wager Talk today. The replay, Dave Koch and Ralph Michaels were on as well. But I've got best bets in the other 3 games tonight. I've also got my first 5% best bet in the NCAA tournament. I've only used 1 all season. So this is a strong play going in the Sweet 16. And since I joined WagerTalk.com 2 years ago, nobody has won more in college hoops. 72.5 units on the sides the last 2 years. I've got some strong ones going tonight. A 3-pack for Thursday and also a 5% best bet. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
All right, great stuff there. And, of course, NHL, huge card here tonight. And let us not forget, guys, Major League Baseball is just around the corner. And that is a great thing, certainly, if you partner up with Dave Koken, who has been absolutely phenomenal, one of the most profitable MLB handicappers at WagerTalk.com. Dave, anything on the card tonight, NHL or otherwise, for us at Wager Talk? I'm going to take that as a maybe. We'll get back to Dave here in a minute. He's all choked up with words with how much he's been counting his money. So we're going to go number 1 game here tonight, guys. This will go off tomorrow. This is part of the slate tomorrow night, 7:09 Eastern Time tip as Purdue, the Boilermakers, getting ready to take on St. Peter's. And the interesting game here is, of course, St. Peter's, Ralph, is the Cinderella everybody loves to jump on board with here, taking down what? Kentucky, Murray State, and now Purdue is in their way. A lot of folks feel this is a big number at 12 and a half. What do you think about St. Peter's chances here?
It is a big number, and unfortunately, the matchups are just horrible for the Peacocks. You know, St. Peter's with a 11-10 game winning streak. Shaheen Holloway, their head coach. Let's see, where will he end up after this year? I'm going to guess Seton Hall, where he played. So, you know, that makes it the worst kept secret there is. But, you know, St. Peter's here last week on the show. I used him as a best bet on Kentucky. Unfortunately, I didn't call for the outright upset. It would have been a nice money line play. You know, and if you remember last week's show, I talked about Casey Nadufu. This kid's a 6'7" defensive marvel. He plays like he's 7 foot. He's top 10 in blocks in the country. But the problem is this. You know, when you're matched up against 6'10" Williams and 7'4" Edie for Purdue, they switch those two players. They always have them fresh. That's a matchup that I think is going to be an issue. St. Peter's a very slow-paced team on offense, number 289. And if you want to compare them to an old-type offense that everyone remembers, they are really Princeton. You talk about back cuts. They take unique angles. They sprint through their cuts. You watch this team hustle, and you see how hard they play. I think they could keep the game closely. What concerns me is this. As I said, the height advantage. You look at St. Peter's, their average height, number 295 out of 358 teams. Their front line is 6'2", 6'7", 6'7". That's going against 6'5", 6'8", 6'10", and 7'4". That's the discrepancy that I'm going to worry about. What did Purdue do against Texas? They pounded the ball inside with their height advantage. They had 46 free throws compared to Texas's 12. So I am going to use this game as a best bet, but I am going to use the first half. We do give up some value in college basketball. The full game total, 133.5. I'm going to go under in the first half, 62.5. If Nadufu gets in foul trouble, I might live bet Purdue. But I think he stays out of foul trouble early. I think they run their screens and slow the ball down. I think Purdue makes multiple passes to try to get the ball inside. So I'm going to play first half under 62.5, and we'll see what happens in the second half of the game with a lot of free throws. But because of that free throw and height edge, again, I'll stick with the first 20 minutes of the game.
True David versus Goliath here, Steve. But it's interesting. This game's in Philly. If it's close in the second half, I got to believe that crowd going to get behind Cinderella here. And we've seen Purdue blow leads in the past before. So do you give these Peacocks any chance?
Yeah, it's interesting because Ralph was talking about how, the difference between the first half, second half lines. Obviously, these tournament games we've seen across the board, these second half totals are about 9 to 10 points higher than the first half totals. And that's just because, it's a do or die game. Teams leave it on the court. They foul a little extra because they have nothing else to play for. And that's why we see these totals higher. But the first half on the side here is 7. The game is 12.5. So that's a 5.5 for the second half. I think Purdue could actually pull away. If you're going to play Purdue, I think you're much better off playing the 12.5 than to play the first half -7 because, as Ralph said, they're going to get to the line a lot. They're going to hit more free throws down the stretch. So there might be some in-game opportunities here. I like Purdue to win this game. Mathematically, St. Peter's has an 11% chance of pulling the straight-up upset. So I don't think they're going to win this game. But it's a big number, and it's a little bit higher than I had hoped. One thing I will say as far as the free throw shooting, Ralph pointed that out. It was a tournament record for Purdue free throw attempts in that last game. It was just insane how often they got to the line. And it's going to probably happen again because St. Peter's, there are 358 Division I teams. St. Peter's opponents this season got the second highest percentage of total points from free throws than any other team in the country. They gave up the second highest amount of their points on defense from the free throw line. So Purdue is going to live at the charity stripe. It is not a good matchup. One final note, I hadn't mentioned this on any shows. I was just thinking about it being a Jersey City team. Every sports book in New Jersey has to be pulling for St. Peter's, Joe, because that means nobody could have bet on them in the state of New Jersey. I don't know. Maybe they push all those other bets, but if not, they have absolutely no liability on the Peacocks making a run because you cannot bet on college teams in the state of New Jersey. Just an interesting little tidbit there, but I think that ends this week. Purdue wins this one. They most likely pull away in the second half and cover.
Nothing scares me worse, Dave, than the words, I trust Matt Painter in the Sweet 16. But good to have you back. And also, before you tell us about this game, tell us what you have, if anything, up at WagerTalk.com, NHL or otherwise tonight.
Let me get through this quickly because I'm having connection problems today. It's a complete pain in the ass. I'm only paying for this shit. So, why would I expect it to work? And that's the business account, by the way. It's supposed to be, premier stuff. Anyway, I like Purdue. I lean at Purdue. I like enough to bet. I lean Providence, but not enough to bet it. I don't have any best bets at all today. I do have one NHL selection. Geared up for baseball right now. Look, my record speaks for itself in baseball. So if you want to sign up, do it now because you save a bunch of money. That's it. Best bets of the show is Purdue. It is an actual 2%, only 2% play, but I did actually bet Purdue. And that's it. I'll take my connection problems and scream at the cable company in like the next 2 minutes, and I'll let the guys handle it from here. Bye.
You got it, Dave. Appreciate it, man. Make sure you visit Dave over at WagerTalk.com. All right, so we got a few Matt Painter trustees here on the panel today. We'll see how that works out tomorrow night, rather. Also, game number 2 tomorrow night. How about we take a look at Providence taking on Kansas here? 7:29 scheduled tip-off time there. 141 as a opening total. Kansas 8, 7.5, even some 7 starting to pop around now. So there is some Providence love in the marketplace here, Ralph. Are you feeling Providence being able to get the best of Bill Self in Kansas in this one?
Well, I couldn't get to either side on this. I look at Providence, and we all know that as far as the luck factor goes, they won so many close games, but Dave's pointed out numerous times, while it falls into the luck category of Ken Palm, it also means you learned how to win all your close games. They did a great job getting to 27-5, but, you look at who they've played in the tournament, and clearly, color me unimpressed. You beat South Dakota State by 8, and then they played Richmond, but let's not forget, Richmond was playing their 6th game in 9 days after that brutal conference tournament stretch. So they played a worn-out team and did end up blowing them out. You look at Kansas, though, and I'm not impressed either. You beat Texas Southern, and then you don't cover against Creighton. Joe, you and I were following this game along, drinking on Saturday afternoon, and you're playing a Creighton team without your point guard, without your number 2 scorer, who only played 6 players the entire game, and 3 starters had to play 40 minutes. Yet you can only win that game by 7. So, you break it down, and I'm not impressed with Creighton, although, you look at Remy Martin, the way he's playing a point guard, he's playing like an all-tournament type player, maybe perhaps the player of the tournament. But they're not getting the side support from Ajabaji or McCormick. So I'm going to call for a lower-scoring game. Slightest of leans for me with Providence plus the points. But again, neither team has impressed me one iota so far this tournament.
So they're going to have to shoot better, I think, here. Providence will, in order to be able to go toe-to-toe with Kansas here, Steve. But it's that underdog trend we keep hearing, right? Providence as a dog has been nothing but money. It's been like that all season long. So what do you think here? 7-2 straight up, 8-1 against the number in that underdog role this year. Do you trust them in this spot?
Yeah, I mean, they've won a lot of games straight up, so not a surprise they've been a good dog, because I would have ventured to guess most of those were probably straight up wins, or at least half of them. That luck factor that we've been having fun with all season at Ken Palm, of course, is basically one-loss record. Doesn't really factor in the point spread. So when you get to this range here, it's not much of a handicapping tool, but basically it's saying that Providence one-loss record should have been a lot weaker than it was this year. They won a lot of kind of toss-up games. But as Ralph said and Dave's pointed out as well, and we talked about this game, by the way, with Dave on Wager Talk today. So even though we lost his connection here, go back and check out that replay as he has in-depth analysis here of his Providence Friars. And he actually did lean towards Providence on the show today at Wager Talk today. I actually would lean Kansas. So Kansas likes to play fast. I think they can play at their tempo in this game, and the key is going to be the tempo. Providence wants to slow things down. They're one of the slowest offensive teams in the country. But what's interesting is while Kansas's tempo is 64th, their offensive tempo is 43rd, but their opponents are at 260. So they've actually allowed their opponents to play below average pace. So they're comfortable with what Providence wants to do. I just think Kansas does a lot of things better overall. By the way, getting back to that luck factor, Providence still the luckiest team out of all 358. Loyal viewers of the show here remember NC Wilmington. We've had some fun with them. They finished off nicely last night in double overtime, winning the CBI tournament as a dog against Middle Tennessee, who had been the best point spread team in the country this year. And Wilmington is now third in the luck index. They've been second for a while. So like Ralph and David both said, these lucky teams can continue to win. And a lot of sharps have faded Providence this year without success. But I think that run ends tomorrow night on Friday, as Kansas has been really fortunate. I wasn't sure Kansas was really a true 1 seed, but I was looking at the bracket. I kept saying, man, do they have an easy path? And boy, has it played out that way. They've got, Providence here, an overrated team, and then they get the winner of Miami of Florida and Iowa State on Sunday. Iowa State was a slight favorite. Now they're a dog. There's been some sharp money on Miami of Florida, but that Iowa State matchup could be difficult for Kansas. They obviously know each other well, and Iowa State can slow them down. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. They beat Iowa State by 9 and beat them by 1 at home. So Kansas gets by Providence, and they probably would rather play Miami on Sunday, would be my guess.
All right, good stuff there. Should be
Joe,
Go ahead, Ralph.
Obviously, we all have a good friend, Mark Lawrence, who's over at Sports Memo. And I just want to, because we were only going over 2 games, I want to just throw out 3 tidbits from his Playbook Sweet 16 newsletter. Teams that in the Elite 8 round, if you upset the number 1 seed in the Sweet 16, you are 14-0 as an underdog. So keep an eye on that. So if you play on a tournament team in the Elite 8 round, if you beat the number 1 seed as a dog in the Sweet 16 round, 14-0 in the next round. So we'll see if anyone can knock off the Zags or Kansas. And a couple other notes, number 1 seeds over the last 8 years in the Sweet 16 round, Arizona, Gonzaga, and Kansas have gone 16-5-1 against the spread. And favorites of 11 or more, this is the Purdue St. Peter's game, favorites of 11 or more have only gone 4-12 ATS. So just 3 tidbits on a game we talked about and maybe another situation. And again, those are from Mark Lawrence's Playbook Sweet 16 newsletter.
All right, great stuff there, Ralph. And always great with Mark Lawrence and Playbook. Always great information. Talk to us here, though, Ralph. I'll come right back at you here. Are you leaning one way or another with some of these plays tonight?
Well, again, I am going to go first half on the Purdue St. Peter's game. You watch St. Peter's, they pass the ball 4 or 5 times every possession. That's going to eat up the clock early. Purdue's going to pass the ball often to try to pound it in deep. I think we get a very low-scoring first half. I'm going to go under 62.5. Peacocks and Boilermakers.
All right, looking like going a little under first half action here with Purdue St. Peter's. How about you, Merrill? Which way you leaning here?
Just a reminder, baseball is only a couple weeks away, and we had a lot of fun last year doing a lot of free baseball plays here on Wager Talk TV, and we called those games that were just a bit outside for making the cut. And I've got a college basketball tournament game on the late night card for Thursday. It was just a bit outside for making the cut. I'm going to give that to you free in a moment. But I do have strong best bets in the other 3 Sweet 16 games for Thursday night. Strong best bets for my clients. I also have my first 5% best bet in the entire NCAA tournament going in the Sweet 16 as well. There's never been a better time. Check out my page, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Let's get to the late night game that just missed the cut, and that's the final game at 9:59 Eastern on TBS Thursday night. I'm going to look at the Houston Cougars plus the 1.5, a live dog here. In fact, I made Houston a 1-point favorite in this game, and I'm not the only the only power rating out there that thinks that way. You look at the KenPom rankings; they now have Houston number 2 in the country, Arizona number 3. I said for weeks now that Houston was the most underseeded team in the entire tournament. It was ridiculous that they were a 5 seed. In fact, I had them as a strong 1, maybe a light 1, maybe a strong 2 coming in. KenPom had them top 4. Saggregating rating, they were 5th when the tournament began, but they were actually 3rd in the predictor power rating. So it's ridiculous that Houston's a 5 seed, and the betting markets are showing that with them only being a 1.5-point dog to the number 1 seed Arizona Wildcats. But I disagree. I think Houston is the better team and should be a 1-point favorite. This game goes down to the wire. 2 good defensive teams, 2 good offensive teams, but Houston is the better defensive team. And as is often the case with college basketball, I like to look at tempo and pace. And Arizona plays the 4th fastest offensive pace in the country. Houston plays at the 322nd fastest offensive pace. Overall, Houston is 334th slowest out of 358 teams. Arizona, the 5th fastest team overall in the country. So whoever dictates the tempo is going to win this game, in my opinion. And normally it's easier to slow down a fast team than vice versa. I think Houston can slow this game down. A live home defensive dog, and I say home because this game is in San Antonio, Texas. I think they will have a slight home state edge long-term over the decades. These teams have been a winning play against the spread when in their home state. A lot of things pointed to Houston tonight. Underrated team that made the Final Four last year. And by the way, they've been underrated all season. 24-12 against the spread, despite winning by almost 17 points a game this year. And they're underrated once again. Take a look at the Houston Cougars plus the 1.5 as a live dog Thursday night, 9:59 Eastern on TBS. Don't forget, I've got strong best bets in the other 3 games tonight on Thursday. Also, my first 5% NCAA tournament best bet this season. It's all available from the number 1 handicapper the past 2 years. I've won over 72 units on NCAA sides the past 2 years since I joined WagerTalk.com. Check it out right now. Steve Merrill.
Steve's right. Teams playing in their home state, guys, from the Sweet 16 on since 1991. 25-13 against the number. So maybe a little Texas love going on tonight. And you know, our producer Robert's jumping up and down here, although he still hasn't bet them. But that's a story for another show. I'm going to go the over with Nova and Michigan here, guys. I don't think it's any secret that Michigan really started to turn things around the minute they started to speed up their tempo here. They've gone over a whole bunch here over the last month of the season here into the tournament. You're going against Villanova, who can play any style, but they're also the number 1 free throw shooting team in the country. So when it comes down to it in a close game, we're going to get, I think, a whole lot of extra points from the free throw line. So over with Villanova and Michigan will be my play here, guys. And don't forget, of course, the write-ups available at our friends at the Gold Sheet. Look at this. They're going over, too. We both happen to be on the same page here. Michigan and Villanova over. And again, no secret here, guys. We got a great free throw shooting team and 2 teams that, in all likelihood, are going to speed it up here a little bit here tonight. So Michigan Nova over. And make sure you head over to our friends at thegoldsheet.com, in fact, since they have write-ups on a number of games. And it's always great handicapping information and tools available to you at goldsheet.com. I would highly encourage you guys to head over there and check it out. But don't forget, of course, best bets are locked and loaded. WagerTalk.com. Ralph Michaels ready to go here tonight, guys, as is Steve Merrill. Like Steve said, baseball just around the corner, and there is absolutely no reason to not to take advantage of the opportunity to hop on board with guys like Dave Koken and Steve Merrill and Ralph Michaels for the upcoming baseball season, guys. Some of the most profitable there are in the business right now. If you head over to WagerTalk.com, visit Ralph Michaels, visit Steve Merrill's page, and visit Dave Koken's page. Hop on board. Once we say goodbye to college hoops, we will welcome in the MLB, and we are excited about it here. So it's going to be T-minus 5 hours or so now here, guys. Sweet 16 tonight, and here's some of the best bet recaps with Ralph Michaels looking at the under. St. Peter's, Purdue, give him the first half, 62.5 under in that one. Merrill likes Houston. He's going to take that 1.5 against Arizona. Koken likes Purdue, thinks he's going to lay the 12.5 against St. Peter's. The Gold Sheet and I both on the same page here. Give us the over. 135 with Villanova being as good as they are from the line late in that game. Michigan, Nova. And again, if you hit that bell in the upper right-hand corner, we'll get you ready one more time. We'll take a look at the results here tonight, tomorrow here in the College Basketball Tip-Off Show, and get a quick peek at what the Elite Eight may look like. So much to come here still until we crown a champ with the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. Come back and join us again tomorrow. On behalf of Ralph, Steve, and Dave, guys, best of luck with your plays tonight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Good luck.
Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95, and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down, and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.